All right, everybody. I am sitting down with Todd Ballenger. We are in the last couple days of May, and I am asking leaders questions on, the year, like what's the biggest surprises, what's most important this year, 2025, and what should local loan officers and leaders of local loan officers be doing going forward. For those that don't know Todd, he is a longtime innovator in the mortgage space, was one of the, I guess, were you a founder of mortgage.com back in the 2000s? Or I know
Yeah.
you had sold your company to them.
Yeah, we rolled up actually three businesses into what became mortgage.com. So we were the founding group of companies that were pulled together from California to Florida to North Carolina and Virginia. There were about five or six states where we had different businesses that all came together to form that entity.
And I bring that up in the context of this conversation because to me there's been there's been four pivotal moments in my career in mortgage, and that's over 38 years. I mean, the first one was the LOS. Like, boom. Like we went from handwritten apps to a loan origination software,
Typing with carbon paper.
carbon paper. And then the other one was the internet, where we went from fax to email and, you know, that whole revolution that you were in, where it's like, oh, you can search for a mortgage online, and it was the gold rush. I bought MortgageCoach.com, MortgagePlanner.com, LoanLink.com. It was a pivotal moment in our space. I think 2007 when the iPhone was released, pivotal moment in humanity, which by the way would not have happened without the internet. So it all started with the internet, and now we're 2025. And to me, well, last year was when we really saw AI for the first time. Like, what? Holy shit! Look what this thing can do. But now we're in 2025, and AI is reshaping the mortgage. So, with all that said, Todd, um, what do you think is most important about 2025? These first 5 to 6 months, we're doing this halftime report. What really stands out this year is something that, whether you're a local loan officer or a leader, head of production of local loan officers, what stands out to you?
Wow. Oh, man. I guess I would start off with process and dynamic. You mentioned what surprised me. I thought as we move into, for those of you familiar with the fourth turning, I mean, we're in the middle of the fourth turning, a major super cycle of societal shift. And in the fourth turning, uh, everything gets upset. And it's equal parts good and bad because that's the nature of disruption. And the last time we went through this was the 60s. Think about, the war and Vietnam and hippies and drug. It was all over the place, but it was all about transformation and change. We're in the middle of that super cycle right now. You're seeing it in volatility, and the volatility that you see every single day is part of that process. And I think one of the things that we've been talking a lot about, in our group is perspective and just saying, look, this is just what happens when things get sort of at one level raised to the ground and rebuilt in a very, very unique fashion, which is, as you were pointing out, AI is, it's an intelligence. It's an alien intelligence, right? And if aliens suddenly landed and gave us a new form of thinking and intelligence, it would change our society dramatically. And that's, AI. I think of it as alien intelligence. AI, that's what I hear in my head when I play with it and explore it. And even the people that are involved with it don't understand completely how it works. It's going to affect the mortgage industry. It's going to affect every industry in a unique way. So how do you respond to that? You can't know what's going to happen. Your responsiveness has to be literally a letting go of almost everything you know, because if you don't, you're going to get shredded. So it's not letting go of your skills and stuff. It's more of a mindset shift to say, look, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, a week from now. Is cold fusion going to suddenly reinvent energy? And what's that going to happen? Is AI going to take away 50% of what I used to do? And therefore, I'm going to be valued differently. So you've got to be really, really flexible more flexible than many people think they're possible at being. You gotta let go and go with it and ride every wave and you can't hold on to anything. I mean, like if you think today's version of AI is cool, you gotta be excited about it, but let it go because next week's going to be different, right? And that means in the way you do your work, the way you interact with people, the way you use tools and technology, um, what people value in you, the authenticity. I mean, you can get any advice now, really good advice, um, with very, very simple application of GPTs and stuff like that. And they're available to pretty much everybody now. I mean, there are 5 models that I use daily for different reasons. But what are people going to
By
value?
the way, what are the 5 models you use daily? Just rip them out real quick.
Yeah, ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, Claude, and Notebook LLM. Those are my 5 tabs across the top of my screen, and they're in reverse order. And I use GPT the most, and then Gemini, and then Grok, and then Claude for writing, and LLM for synthesizing PDFs and newsletters and things like that I work with. And sometimes I'll go across all 5 for a particular project to get 5 different sets of engagement and response. But usually I'm using one of those 5, for writing, Claude for writing, Grok for research, Gemini for what I call accelerated search, modified search, and then GPT for kind of day to day. That's my go-to for everything.
So if you're watching this, what are you using daily? The tech stack you just said, I use ChatGPT a lot. I use Perplexity for search and research. And
Yep.
then I'm using a platform really designed around mortgage and real estate, Huzi.ai quite often, Huzi.ai. If anybody wants to sign up, I'll put a link down below. Um,
I have to check it out.
yeah, I'll introduce you to the founder. I used to become a friend, Eric Post, and he's scaling in the real estate space. So think of if you're a realtor or a mortgage professional, and you should be using 5 or more different tech stack. He gives you an interface designed for real estate professionals and has a community to teach and train real estate mortgage professionals how to become AI augmented mortgage and real estate professionals. So, anyways, link down below. Check it out. Okay, let's go. That first of all, that was awesome. I never know how you're going to answer questions, and you always um, enlighten me. Most of the people I've asked this question have gone right to Rocket. Hey, Rocket now owns, 1 out of 6 mortgages under management. They've got an 80% retention, and they've plugged in a purchase funnel at the top as kind of the big news of 2025, which, by the way, it is big news
It
on
is,
on
yeah.
a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being this is a big deal for local mortgage professionals, and a 1 being so what? How would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 5?
It's a 5, but I want to give you the 6. So this is a thought experiment. Hey Siri, refinance my house to a 30-year fixed at 6.5%.
Sorry, I couldn't find that in your home.
She says, done. That's a thought experiment,
Right.
right? So, and that should upset you and it should trigger you and it should make you a little queasy. But as a thought experiment, to me, that's rocket at some point, right? That's where they would like their model to go. And if they're going to drag the model there, that's their 6 or maybe their 10, you have to be asking yourself, do I believe that's never going to happen? And 99% of the people that I've asked that question to said, no, I believe that's going to happen. Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? Is it 20 years? I don't know what it is, but at some point you will say, hey, Google, hey, Siri, hey, Alexa, refinance my mortgage to today, whatever, 6.5. Okay, go ahead. And she'll say done. And it's going to take 15, 20 seconds. If that's where the market goes, and that's a thought experiment, ask yourself, where are you in that equation? How are you going to differentiate yourself? Because you want to start that now, whatever that is for you. And that's part of the process. How are you going to compete with that? Because I can guarantee you that's where Rocket would love for it to go. And that's part of their process, right? Eventually, that's what you would want. Do you believe that won't happen at some point, 20 years from now, 30 years from now? I don't know what the math is on the time, but I like to use stuff like that. We did this 4.5 years ago with something called COVID when it first came out of Wuhan. I asked all the people in our group to say, all right, that's DEFCON 1 is the announcement. What if it actually hit the US? How would it affect your business? And how would you prepare? And we had people starting to order cameras and laptops and like stuff. And then suddenly it hit, and it was hilarious because we didn't think it was going to do that, but it got here a lot faster. But use thought experiments like that as a way to just ask yourself, how do I feel about that? What does it make me want to do differently? How would I compete with that to where somebody's going to be like, I don't know if that's what I need. I want to talk to Dave about this. How do I become the Etsy of mortgage advice, right? That where there's value and authenticity. And this was handmade. This mortgage was handcrafted by Dave. What does that
Yeah.
look like? You start working on that, right?
Yeah. Well, I did an interview with Justin Tucker. He did a post on Facebook that said all that matters in the future is AI and personal brand. Period.
Yep.
And so we did a conversation on that, and and at first I thought it was an exaggeration to making a point, but as I really started peeling back the onions, yeah, it is an exaggeration to make a point. There are obviously other things that matter, but they kind of fit under that. And if you're local, like you have the proximity of where you live, you have who you are as a human being in the real world, but then you need to first of all, you need to be a coach and an advisor going forward, and not a transactional coach and advisor, something that you and I have both been passionate about since the founding of Mortgage Coach. Everything that you've built in business has been, we both believe that people don't get loans because they want loans, they get loans because they want homes. And the
Mhm.
American dream is home ownership with financial freedom. And
Yep.
and that is a pretty complex problem to solve. You need to
Yes.
know what people believe, you need to know what they assume, and you need to know what their goals are that are not searchable on AI. They're like right up here.
Yep.
And they can also be influenced in a conversation to where you get them to adjust their assumptions and evolve their goals and then bring that together. Again, mortgage coach, I believe that the future belongs to the data-driven mortgage coach, but I also believe that person has to be trained and they have some hard skills and soft skills. So one, I'm going to just ask, do you agree with that? And then two, put a little color around that from a Todd Ballenger perspective.
Absolutely. Again, the old joke is I don't want AI to do my art, so I have more time to do dishes. I want AI to do my dishes, so I have more time to do art, right? And right now, AI is largely, it's great at music and art and stuff like that. It's getting better at writing. When does the agentic aspect of this connect dots for you so that it's doing your dishes? And this will be things like there'll be certain parts of advice modeling where you used to spend a lot of time, and with tools like Mortgage Coach and with AI plugged in, that's going to become very quick and very fast. So you can spend more time having that conversation. People appreciate what they discover, and they really appreciate what they discover about themselves. And the problem with Gnosis Situs is for most of us, the stuff that is so close to us, we just can't see it. It's right here on the tip of your nose. You know it's there, it's close, but you don't know what it is. You need somebody to ask you questions to sort of help you discover what you believe or what you know or what you really care about. Because left our own devices, we just don't even think about it because it's so close, we think we know it. And then one question can turn someone on a dime. So I think it's going to be that authentic part of extracting for someone out of someone what they really care about, reflecting it back to them and showing that I can help you get there is going to be important. And ironically, like Tesla, a current, challenged brand, but they're probably likely to be the first automaker to build cars 100% by robots because of their
Right.
Optimus and things like that, right? So in their world, you might be more likely to buy a Tesla that's got a brand on it, built by robots because it's really cool. On the other extreme, you might want to get a mortgage. I wouldn't want to say I got my mortgage from a robot. I got it from somebody that really helped me. That's the authenticity. It's the advice. You still have to be able to model and kind of back up your story. But I think the storytelling, that capacity to engage people in honest, open inquiry, what do you really care about? What does money mean to you? Understanding that cash flow is so important will become really, really important. It's already really important, but it's going to become amplified by AI. Just like the internet gave you access to information and it becomes overwhelming. AI is a form of very targeted search, but
Yeah. Well, let's do this because I got one more thing to show
yeah, yeah.
you and ask you before we run out of time here. I don't believe I have showed you our AI enablement within the Mortgage Coach Total Cost Analysis yet. You've
Mm,
not seen that? So what we've done is we've AI enabled the actual Mortgage Coach Total Cost Analysis, and I do believe this is like part of the future of lending now. So imagine this. Oops. I
Hey, what's up, Rachel? It's Jeremy Forcier.
did not mean to do that.
mhm.
You see that on my screen.
Yes, looks great.
So first of all, anyone looking at this within a Mortgage Coach Total Cost Analysis, if you've done this right as a loan officer, you have data that's available from the LOS, the product to pricing engine, the fee automation, and then you're using that data to tell a story to the consumer around how they can solve problems and achieve goals. And so for the first time, Mortgage Coach has always had that data. And it's, if the loan officer did their job right, like, hey, what are your goals? What are your concerns? What are your assumptions? It's all in one place. And now the consumer can engage with it with AI and ask questions like, if I'm going to be in the home for 5 years, what is the best option? And, that might be something that's on their mind and they're getting an answer. Uh,
That's lovely, Dave.
what, hang on. Well, here, let me type it in. What What is the equity in option two at 36 months? Again, whatever they have, what's the cash to close on these options? What's the break even between blank and blank? They're engaging with AI with a total cost analysis. And then as the loan officer, they've given this to the borrower, the loan officer also has this. So the loan officer can be smarter and more thoughtful. And the loan officer is getting a transcript of what the consumer asked and what they said. So what do you think?
That's exactly what I was talking about. It's beautiful. The fact that the dishwashing part of it is entering in that stuff and trying to look at it and interpret it. It's like if you can get that data pulled in, optimized in that way, interact with it. Again, most consumers have proven at the end of the day. I went through this recently, with a cruise we were doing for spring break. I was like, I did all this stuff online, but I wanted to talk to somebody. It's like you just don't want to push that button and then find out something that you missed. So I think having that ability to self-serve to a certain level and self-custody your own understanding takes you to that threshold of then saying, now I need somebody to tell me that I'm on the right track. Any interaction you can do there, any automation for an LO or professional helps them not only in the time and the mental bandwidth to construct these things, but also in the showcasing of value to financial advisors and realtors and other parties because they're all struggling with this same stuff. How do my consumers get financial advice? What if I go to Chat GPT right now and it tells me I could be better off managing my own money? How do I combat that? Because I've done this as a thought experiment and the advice and the reasoning that it gave was phenomenal. Like, how do you combat that, right? You're going to need to be able to showcase this stuff visually in a compelling way. And I love the way you just did that. And if you can pull in that information and optimize that setup for the conversation to start, that's going to be a game changer. It's lovely.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we're excited about it. If you're watching this and you're already a customer of ours, we are doing some early release for some folks. So reach out to me, Dave at Trust Engine. I'll try to get you an early release. And then we're going to go general market the beginning of July. We'll be out. It is in alpha now. So it's working. Like literally tomorrow, we're doing a webinar where we're going to introduce it and share it to the industry. And if there's any of your clients, Todd, that you want me to get into an early release program, I can start turning on folks next week.
Yeah.
And as we wrap this up, if anybody wants to learn, call it the art of advising, the human skill, so that you as a human being, you not only know what questions to ask, but you know how to use Mortgage Coach in the most strategic way possible, how can people follow you and learn more about what you do?
Yeah, man. So we have three shifts we focus on. The first shift is from a loan officer to a liability advisor, which is in a way, it's a major shift in the way you think about what you're doing. Come to barsmartuniversity.com, look at our CLA course, or reach out to me directly via the site, and I'd be happy to talk to you about what you or your branch, your company wants to do with this. But first shift, become a liability advisor, get away from being a loan officer. Second shift is starting to work with financial advisors and understanding the power of that relationship and what you can do there. And then the third shift is the total mindset shift of using leverage, using technology, using AI, using one-to-many opportunities to make your own market in any area that you care to play in. But just start with just that whole shift to become a liability advisor, using tools like Mortgage Coach, shifting the way you think about what you do, the value proposition. I've had people say they were quitting the industry and they're staying in the industry because of this course, because they're having so much fun now because of what the way they think about what they do and the impact that they're having in the lives of the people they interact with.
So guys, there'll be a link down below to that. Check it out. I truly believe in the community that Todd has, the value he brings to future-proofing originators. So anybody that goes through that program and uses Mortgage Coach and builds a brand that matters, I believe you'll be future-proof. You will have value. Maybe you will have less refis when you can go, hey Siri, can I refinance? Yes, refis are going to be more and more automated, but purchases, especially first-time purchases, move up, move down. People that really want to manage equity and optimize debt to achieve financial freedom with homeownership, they need experts who are AI powered, who have the right data, who have all this. So, brother, appreciate you. Great conversation.
Enjoyed
All
it.
right,
Thank you.
everybody. Hope you got value from this.
Thanks, man.